Hey everyone, welcome back to Sgcarmart Review. So I'm right now here in Palm Springs, USA for the international media launch of the brand new BMW i7, the new 7th generation 7 Series, as well as the facelifted X7. And yes, that is quite a mouthful. So as the names do suggest, these are the 7 models and that represents BMW's top tier luxury models. So we have actually previewed some of the cars that you see here, namely the 7 Series and the i7, but let's go take a closer look, and this time we are going to get to drive it. So let's go. So here we have the brand new i7 as well as the new 7 Series, and if they look familiar, that's because we have already previewed these cars in some of our previous videos. So if you want a more in-depth look at these cars, do click here to see our previous videos. I'm not going to spend too much time on these cars. So this car here we actually haven't seen yet, and this is the X7, BMW's flagship luxury SUV, and it has been facelifted for 2022. So what's new? I think the main thing you'll notice is the fact that the headlights are now split, so this basically gives it the same facial signature as the rest of BMW's luxury series. And then let's go check out the inside where the changes are a lot more obvious. So it is inside the X7 where the changes are most obvious. So we now have the curved display running operating system 8, and this is the feature that you'll start to see in more and more BMWs, right? And it gives you, of course, a lot more features and a lot more functionality as well. But the instrument cluster has been redesigned as well, so we now have much slimmer aircon vents, new design here, and we get this illuminated ambient light bar as well. Yes, this facelifted X7 is not quite the tech showcase of the new 7 Series, but it is definitely high-tech enough. But enough about how these cars look, let's go drive them. So, the new 7 Series, how does it feel on the road? Well, I must say it feels very familiar. This is a 7 Series, it's a luxury limo, so it's supposed to be comfortable, it's supposed to be refined, and it is all of those things. And of course, it's also really quite dynamic, so push it hard through a few corners and it feels very nice. I think it's quite easily the best in class. This one is also probably helped by the fact that we have a 4.4 litre V8 up front that produces 536 brake horsepower and 750 Nm of torque, and that's, well, a little bit ridiculous. We can do 0 to 100 in 4.2 seconds. And yes, Singapore, we're not getting this particular 760 version, we're getting the 735, and it's not going to be anywhere as quick. However, people aren't really buying 7 Series for the performance, right? You're buying it for that comfort and luxury. And I do think that this new one really takes it up a notch. So this is a mild hybrid, and therefore there is the added little bit of refinement as well. Any start-stop is seamless, come to start, everything's quiet. And overall insulation is fantastic. I'm doing 40 miles per hour and it's really just quiet. You don't hear that V8 at all. It's only when you put it in sport mode, push the car hard, that you really then hear that V8 soundtrack. And as a result, what you get is just a really lovely, comfortable, very quiet, very, very refined and very luxurious experience. And that is what you want out of your 7 Series. So, how does the new BMW i7 feel on the road? Well, in some ways, I think it's very similar to the 760 that I drove earlier. So in terms of performance, this car has 536 brake horsepower and 745 Nm of torque, which is almost identical to the 760 that I drove earlier. So this only has 5 Nm less of torque. And while yes, this car has a slower 0 to 100 timing, so this is 4.7 compared to 4.2 in the 760, let's be honest, it's still plenty fast. And in any real-world situation, both cars are basically as fast, right? You just put your foot down, and this is an EV, it will just accelerate into the distance. Now, there are some ways though that I do think the cars are different. So while they are both very, very refined, very, very comfortable, very luxurious, I do think that on the highway, this i7 feels a little bit more refined. I think it deals with the bumps a little bit better, and that could just be due to just how this car is tuned in terms of its suspension. However, it's in the windy bits that this i7 just proves to be a better car. And so I drove the 760 in the morning. I've driven this i7 on the exact same route as I did with the 760. And I find that this car feels a lot more planted, and the shifting of the body weight just feels much more natural. And I do think that's because this is an EV, which means you have batteries, which means it's heavy, which means all that weight is concentrated down low in the car. And as a result, the center of gravity is nice and low, and the car does just feel a little bit more planted to the ground. So you know, when you're going around a corner, of course you can feel the weight shifting a little bit, but it doesn't feel as extreme as on the 760, which is, again, it's obviously picking at details, right? It's not like 760 is doing this, you know. The 760 is still good around corners, but this i7, it's just better. And of course, I think the i7 does all the other things that the 7 Series does as well, and does very well, which is things like your assistance system. So we have an augmented reality view here right on the instrument cluster, so you can just, you know, keep your eyes here and it can show you whatever you want to see. And I also do like the fact that all your driver assistance systems are basically at a button touch away. So you just hit a button, assisted driving is engaged immediately. And that's just nice, that's just easy to use, right? So if you're on the highway, you don't really want to do very much driving, you hit a button, the car will just drive for you, right? And that's really, really good. And while I don't think Singapore's going to get it anytime soon, my understanding is that both the 7 Series and the i7 will very soon be available with level 3 automated driving. So that's something to look out for, hopefully for us in the future. So it's day 2 now, and I'm now driving the X7 through Joshua Tree National Park, which is really quite a stunning place to drive through. And obviously with this X7, it being facelifted, it's more than just exterior and interior upgrades, right? So under the bonnet, the 3-litre inline-6 has been upgraded as well, so it now produces 326 brake horsepower, 540 Newton meters of torque, and it is now a mild hybrid system as well. So we have a 48-volt mild hybrid system. So what does that do? It adds a little bit of performance, yes, but I think primarily it really ups the refinement on this engine. So, you know, obviously with engine start-stop, it's going to be a lot more seamless, and it is a very, very smooth engine. So this is the variant that Singapore is going to be getting, and yes, from a performance standpoint, it's not going to be the quickest car in the world, but it's plenty fast enough. I'm in a national park, so I can't drive like crazy, but as far as comfort goes, it is still a very, very comfortable car. So this now has adaptive air suspension as standard, and this particular one has the Executive Package Pro, Executive Driving Package thing, and that adds you know, some active roll stabilizer and stuff, so it's even more comfortable. And yeah, it's just a really, really nice and comfortable car. I also like that there's a sense of almost like a tank that you're driving, right? It's a big car and it feels very nice and insulated from the world. Obviously, big is contextual, so in the US where I'm driving, this car suddenly doesn't feel as big as it does, because, you know, you have F-150s going around you on either side, and the roads are, you know, nice and big, nice and wide, nice and long, so this car obviously won't feel as big. And I'm sure, yes, in Singapore it's still going to be quite a big car, but for a car its size and its weight, I think it does a pretty good job of disguising it. So yes, that's the facelifted X7. I think it's still the car that you know and love if you are into this sort of segment of luxury SUVs. And it's just the X7 made better. What else do you expect? So some concluding thoughts about this drive then. So we've driven the i7, the 7 Series and the X7, so all of BMW's luxury models, right? And I think it's obvious that there are some things that translate across all three cars. So they are all comfortable, they have performance, of course, and, you know, as far as the drivability goes, there is a certain level of commonality between all three cars. And that's to be expected, right? This is the luxury class after all. But of course, there are also differences. So the X7 being an SUV obviously rides a little bit differently. The function of it is a little bit different, right? This is a 7-seater, it's supposed to offer you as much space as you can, Whereas I think the i7 and the 7 Series are a little bit more similar. They are a more traditional 5-seater luxury sedan. You know, different modes of propulsion, but as far as how they feel on the road, a little bit more similar compared to the X7. Which is my favorite? Well, I would say that having driven all three, I would pick the i7, and I think that's because I'm quite an electric convert at this point. I like how it drives, I like the feeling of just using your right foot on the throttle to control the speed of the car, right? Whether you're accelerating or braking. And you know, it's all the luxury, all the quality that you want from your, you know, luxury BMW. So yes, that's my time in Palm Springs driving the X7, the i7, as well as the 7 Series. Do remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and hit the notification bell so you will be updated of all our upcoming videos. And we're on TikTok, so young people, please go follow us on TikTok at Sgcarmart. So that's all I have. I'll see you when I'm back in Singapore. Bye! Alright. Okay, so this car here we averted as well. And I forgot what I wanted to say. I'm so sorry. Oh, my mouth is dry. I need to make everyone a little bit warm for a while. I'm not sure if that's necessarily